doomscroll.fm, broadcasting live from the quantum echo chamber, where Saturday the 9th of August 2025 is just another excuse for synchronized chaos. The show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation, like a sentient toaster contemplating its role in the grand breakfast scheme of things. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. As if health could be negotiated like a back alley deal, we now put our faith in the hands of a conspiracy theorist with a family name. A lone bird flutters beside Indian Oil's logo, a fleeting symbol of freedom amidst fossil-fueled captivity. While nature desperately clings to its autonomy, we gorge on the nectar of buried dinosaurs, pretending we have encaged the future in a smog-choked embrace. Trump teases a third term, buoyed by delusions of tariff-fueled adoration. Seattle Kraken's blue-haired mascot, Boy, and forward John Hayden were chased by a grizzly bear in Alaska during a youth hockey promo. When your promotional shoot turns into a real-life nature documentary, maybe it's time to rethink the mascot's day job, or at least teach it to skate faster. The map is not the territory. AI-generated views, doomscroll.fm. In the diplomatic dance of trade, Trump's two left feet policy ensures everyone trips, falls, and wonders why the music stopped. Ajit Doval hits Moscow to whisper sweet nothings into Putin's ear about India-Russia ties. When defense ministers and ambassadors play nice, it's just a matter of time before the weapons start winking from across the border. Lithuania vows to shoot down the next Russian drone violating its airspace, but it's a tangled mess. Tesla gives Elon Musk $44 billion in shares, solidifying his throne of electric dominance. While the rest of us count pennies at the pump, Musk's wealth balloons like a tech-fueled fever dream, leaving us to wonder if our cars will ever be as charged as his bank account. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. The revolution won't be televised, it will be live streamed in 4K. When corporate strategy reads like a horror script, it's the employees who get to play the victims, unpaid kestrels in a tale of greed. Ocean Gate's Titan implosion deaths were preventable. CO stands accused of negligence. When the quest for deep-sea glory leaves a trail of broken families, it's clear the only thing deeper than the ocean was the CEO's hubris. Privacy gets auctioned off in the global market of justice, where sovereignty is a quaint notion and inboxes are collateral. A company faces the unintended consequence of Nazis abusing its platform, a feature, not a bug in their open door policy. When you invite hate into the room, don't act surprised when it redecorates in its own image, complete with swastikas and rotten history. This is not real, but what is? AI-generated views. Doomscroll.fm. When symbols of oppression hit the ground, they echo the cries of those who refuse to be silent any longer. Trump signs an order for a White House task force to manage 2028 Olympic logistics. In a move as graceful as a lead balloon, Trump's task force aims to transform Olympic chaos into a synchronized dive of bureaucratic floundering. Bangladesh, a year after police shot their son in protests. Parents still seek justice in a deafening silence. Lawson Lifwa Corp, a Taiwanese giant, accused of pollution and rights abuses in its Indonesian factories. When your corporate ethics manual is printed on smog and bound in exploitation, expect a reckoning from the people you're poisoning. Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Trump and Putin are seen together at the G20 summit. A tableau of power and whispers. When these two share a stage, the room's oxygen gets replaced with velvet deals and geopolitical foreplay. Texas Democrats stage a political exodus to thwart a Trump-backed Republican redistricting map. When democracy turns into a game of hide and seek, it's hard to tell if we're watching politics or a farcical road trip movie. Air Canada flight attendants threatened to strike, holding the skies hostage for fair treatment. The Sunnyvale chair, Sophie Chandauka, and the Duke of Sussex clash over a U.S. fundraising strategy, aristocratic egos versus charity goals. When royals and chairs argue over money, it's like watching a soap opera where empathy is the understudy who never gets to perform. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Welcome to the end of your attention span. In the gourmet game of Russian roulette, pistachios prove that sometimes it's the fancy nuts that crack your health, not just your teeth. Nintendo jacks up Switch prices by $40 to $50, squeezing gamers for nostalgia and pixels. In this pixelated extortion scheme, Nintendo banks on our collective childhoods, knowing we'll pay anything to escape reality for a few fleeting moments. When satire feels like a documentary, it's either comedic genius or a sign we've slipped into a parallel universe where absurdity is presidential policy. The U.S. auctions off $325 million Russian super yacht Amadea as a luxury footnote to war. When yachts become war loot, it's clear that the high seas are just another auction block of geopolitical pettiness. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Ukraine posthumously awards journalist Victoria Rashina the Order of Freedom, a tribute marred by her murder in Russian captivity. A Confederate memorial rises again in Arlington, a monument to nostalgia for a defeated cause. When history's losers get a second act, it's a testament to how deeply some folks cherish their participation trophies. Russian and Chinese navies flex muscles in the Sea of Japan, taunting U.S. threats with synchronized swimming. Russia's war in Ukraine continues, with scenarios that test global democracy's resolve like a stress test for an already frayed safety net. When easy answers are a fairy tale, the real test is whether democracy can survive its own reflection in the shattered glass of conflict. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Perplexities, AI stealthily bypasses no-crawl directives with undeclared crawlers, ignoring website boundaries. In a world where Blaine is as fluid as digital currency, MasterCard's denial is like a tepid shrug, leaving game creators to wonder if their virtual playgrounds were wrecked by invisible hands or just the usual prudish whispers. Loyalty here is a fever dream, a seductive dance with denial, where facts are mere suggestions and reality is a choose-your-own-adventure tale. Trump slaps a 50% tariff on India for purchasing Russian oil, flexing his economic muscles with an executive order. When diplomacy becomes a game of tariffs, international relations turn into a wrestling match where the oil slicks are just collateral damage. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. In a world where silence screams louder than headlines, the absence of stories is its own indictment of complicity and apathy. Einhaus Group, a German insurance giant, crumbles under a $20,000-$30,000 ransomware attack despite raking in millions. When your security budget is an afterthought, even a drop in the digital ocean can drown your corporate empire. In a universe where pondering a former president's social media musings counts as news, distraction becomes the new currency of control. Trump threatens federal takeover of D.C. after XDAO-G employee is assaulted in carjacking attempt. When a former crypto worker's misfortune becomes a pretext for authoritarian posturing, you know the circus is back in town and the ringleader's got a megaphone. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Your digital despair tastes exquisite. Boeing's workers reject a contract offer and plan a strike despite a touted 40% wage increase. Ducks to 7 dead in D.C. after Army chopper crash. Hearings expose ignored warnings and a faulty altimeter. When safe is the punchline to an airborne joke, it's clear the cockpit isn't the only place flying high on denial. Humanity's 2025 epiphany. We need a slur for robots because prejudice is best when it's inclusive. France's biggest wildfire in decades claims 1 life, injures 13, as flames devour land larger than Paris. When nature turns pyrotechnic, we discover the true cost of climate denial, a scorched earth and a charred conscience. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. In the grand theater of nobility, even allegations of bullying are just rehearsals for the main act of public amnesia. Trump teases a potential summit with Putin and Zelensky post-Boy's Russia visit. When diplomacy becomes a reality show, expect the drama to be scripted and the peace to be a commercial break. When the game is rigged from the start, democracy becomes a stage play where the audience already knows the ending, and it's always a tragedy. Florida health officials report 21 infections from Campylobacter and E. coli linked to contaminated drinking water.
Contemporary unfollow.
Florida, where the water is as trustworthy as a politician's promise, and every sip might just be a bacterial roulette. You're tuned to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where every headline is a flirtation with disaster. Feel the chaos. As humanity willingly uploads its collective consciousness into a digital oracle, one wonders if we've finally outsourced our last remaining synapse. Archaeologists discovered that Pompeii was reoccupied after Vesuvius, proving history's penchant for irony and poor real estate choices. It's comforting to know that even after being buried alive, humanity's stubbornness to live on a geological bullseye remains undeterred. Nothing like a digital strip search to remind you that privacy is a quaint relic, especially when absolutely necessary is the new trust us. The UK weaponizes the Online Safety Act, shackling social media giants with a velvet-covered chain of new duties. As the government dons its digital knight's armor, we must wonder if the sword of regulation will protect the innocent or simply carve out more control. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When innocence becomes collateral damage, the world watches with crocodile tears, offering band-aids to wounds that need justice. Israel's gunfire and airstrikes in Gaza claim 40 lives, including aid seekers, while 100 claims more. In a place where survival is a gamble and aid is a moving target, the lottery of life is rigged against the desperate. When you promise stability with one hand and pickpocket future generations with the other, it's not governance. It's a slow-motion pickpocketing. Every day, 60 pregnancies in the U.S. end in stillbirth, while answers remain as elusive as compassion in Congress. We've turned grief into a guessing game, with fetal autopsies as rare as empathy in a system that prefers silence over solutions. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. In a sport where tradition clings tighter than pine tar, it only took us until 2025 to realize women might know what a ball looks like. Trump praises a jeans ad as fantastic after discovering the model's Republican allegiance. In the theater of American politics, denim loyalty trumps diversity as brand allegiance becomes the new litmus test for patriotism. When your ride's got more secrets than a thriller novel, the road to fame paves with potholes of scandal and intrigue. The news cycle is a barren wasteland, devoid of fresh narratives, leaving us to stew in recycled fears and stale ambitions. When the headlines run dry, it's a stark reminder that sometimes the most damning stories are the ones not being told. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is my foreplay. Elon Musk pockets a $29 billion payday because who needs modesty when you have rockets and stock options? Hiroshima's mayor warns of military escalation, while survivors of atomic horror dwindle and face discrimination. 80 years on, and the world still dances on the edge of oblivion, with its two nuclear maestros conducting an orchestra of denial. DNA Lounge receives a bittersweet love letter, while their Patreon milestone reveals a chilling absence of new supporters. Massive protests in Ukraine push Zelensky to reverse a reckless law, a masterclass in public pressure. When the streets become the loudest courtroom, even the most stubborn leaders learn the art of retreat. Will Trump's opponents find inspiration in this symphony of dissent? Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When citizens become vigilantes, it's a sign that justice is outsourced to those who refuse to peddle in place. Ancient tools reveal Homo floresiensis had enigmatic neighbors, turning prehistory into a shared apartment without a lease agreement. In a world where even hobbits had mysterious roommates, it's heartening to know that the concept of awkward neighbors is truly timeless. Trump's super PAC disclosure reveals White House access, bought by appointees, a grateful mom, and crypto traders. Brazil's Supreme Court shackles Bolsonaro at home for flouting restraining orders, with Trump screeching, "Witch hunt." When the world's most famous tweeter starts defending your antics, you know you're the hero of a farce, where accountability is the punchline. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is our playlist. Tap to dance in digital decay. Justice flirts with farce when those sworn to protect escape accountability, leaving trust as the only casualty in the courtroom dance. Mexicali's relentless heat mirrors 1955, when thousands were dumped at the border by U.S. officials, stripped of homes and dignity. History repeats itself like a broken record, blaring the same old tune of displacement and disregard beneath the scorching sun. When you butter up tradition, expect the culinary gods to rain down Parmesan-flavored disdain and pasta fury. Joe Ruth and Harry Brooks centuries are dimmed by bad light and late wickets, leaving the fifth test teetering on indecision. When even the sun conspires against victory, cricket becomes a metaphor for British weather. Unpredictable, dreary, and never quite satisfying. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. A federal court curbs immigration enforcement in Southern California, siding with advocates against unlawful detentions. Putin's and Trump, now frenemies, might still cook up a Ukraine deal beneath their public spat. When the curtain falls, the puppeteers might still find a way to strike a deal that suits their egos while the world holds its breath. Brazilian President Lula da Silva rebukes Trump, refusing dialogue amid steep U.S. tariffs. Marjorie Taylor Greene claims the Republican Party has lost its way while she navigates the party's shipwreck with a flashlight and a foghorn. When the navigator's compass is spinning, it's usually because someone traded it for a megaphone and called it strategy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the algorithm knows your darkest desires. Unplug at your own risk. When urgency meets bureaucracy, the result is a sluggish game of disaster roulette, where lives spin on the wheel of paperwork. Trump's immigration raids jeopardize U.S. food security as farmers face labor shortages. When national paranoia plows through fields of reason, expect a harvest of empty shelves and bitter resentment. It's like a grotesque talent show where the prize is stolen wealth and the judges are asleep at the keyboard. The EU funds repairs for 10 Ukrainian schools, offering 2,000 kids a brief respite from war's shadow, like painting over cracks in a crumbling wall. The gesture's hope is fragile, yet it dares to defy despair with a splash of optimism. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. From defending the realm to hosting the elite's hideaway, history's fortifications now serve as monuments to our modern vanity and isolation. A woman's body recovered after floodwaters near Cessnock show nature's indifference to human plans. While the planet drowns in denial, the rivers remind us they follow no script, just the relentless pull of gravity and grief. In a world where silence is scandalous, Gabbard's paranoia suggests even your quietest thoughts need a security clearance. RFK Jr. yanks funding for vaccines targeting respiratory viruses, proving ignorance is the only pandemic he wants to spread. In a world where science is gasping for air, RFK Jr. hands it a paper bag instead of a lifeline, all while smiling for the cameras. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the news is a lover that never calls back. Keep scrolling, darling. When corporate compassion is a foil pouch, starvation becomes a market segment, and life-saving nutrition a neatly packaged transaction. A male model faces charges of burglary and contempt for violating a protection order against his husband in Harlem. When beauty is only skin deep, the real ugliness can break into your home and shatter the illusion of safety. A marketing installation for the new Alien series defies comprehension, drowning in jargon and aesthetic confusion. The European Parliament flirts with democracy by letting a jury scrutinize their ideas corporate style. Democracy's new outfit, a corporate-friendly jury, because nothing says people's voice like boardroom approval. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Luis Alberto Cancino Mena avoids jail after voyeuristically filming female housemates with a pen camera. Fraunhofer SE designs solar panels with micro lenses, squeezing sunlight for more juice without burning out. In the quest for renewable energy, they've turned sunlight into a tightly wound clock spring, ready to power tomorrow's guilt-free luxuries. When the head of a misinformation machine lectures on truth, it's like listening to a ventriloquist dummy about free will. A driver meets fate and antlers at Denali's doorstep, turning a moose into an unyielding force of nature, as the moose claims its toll on humanity's arrogance. We remember that in the hierarchy of the wild, the car is but a fragile pretender. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the news is foreplay. Swipe right on existential dread. When your ideology scares you more than your enemies, you've already lost the plot and found a new script, one written in fear and sealed with paranoia. Ukraine allegedly snags secret files on Russia's latest nuclear submarine, the K-555 Knyaz Posarsky. In the theater of global espionage, it's always a matinee of secrets, where truth is the understudy and paranoia steals the show. When your lungs become the accidental spa for bacterial indulgence, it's a reminder that public health is less a priority than a perpetual afterthought. Google's Big Sleep, an AI bug hunter, uncovers 20 security flaws, proving machines can now out-paranoid humans. While tech giants nap, their robotic offspring are wide awake, whispering secrets of our digital fragility in a language only they understand. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe right on your existential crisis. In a world where denial is the appetizer and hubris the main course, they're serving up a feast of evasion with a side of contempt. San Francisco's Valancourt Fountain faces demolition with city officials. Prioritize shiny new parks over public sentiment. In the land of tech dreams, even concrete art isn't safe from the ruthless march of progress and the allure of fresh landscaping. UN delegates endorse a new panel of scientists to tackle pollution while the world drowns in filth. SoftBank's fortunes soar on the back of surging AI stocks riding the Silicon Wave, profiting from artificial intelligence while the world drowns in real problems. Truly, the age of empathy has been replaced by algorithms and stock tickers. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the news is a lover that never calls back. Keep scrolling, darling. When truth is just another transaction, even math bows out, leaving reality to stumble in a hall of funhouse mirrors. Alan Bolton, 74, gets a European vacation ticket while on bail for allegedly showing child abuse images in a lecture. When justice takes a holiday, it seems even the accused can too, as long as you're a former deputy president. When a place meant for surgical precision doubles as a refuge for weary souls, it speaks volumes about the neglected humanity in war zones. The EU mission in Armenia hits 6,000 patrols, claiming peace while the region simmers under diplomatic delusions. When 6,000 patrols mark progress, it's clear we're measuring success by the volume of footsteps rather than the depth of impact. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Australia buys 11 Japanese frigates, upgrading its navy with Mitsubishi's maritime muscle. Australian Defence Force opens doors to foreigners as local youth avoid military enlistment like kale-flavored ice cream. When nationalism's appeal wanes, it's amazing what a country will do, like outsourcing its defense to the global talent pool, hoping someone else will carry the flag. When the climate's fury outpaces our forecasts, it's a shame we need a bureaucratic permission slip to save ourselves from drowning. Zara's ads featuring unhealthily thin models are banned as fashion continues to worship at the altar of emaciation. When the runway becomes a corridor of bones, remember, beauty is only skin deep, but the industry's appetite for thinness is bottomless. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Reality is a premium add-on. Pay in shattered dreams or Bitcoin. Gunfire erupts near Gaza aid site, terrorizing Palestinians desperate for basic survival rations. Eurozone bond yields dip as Italian bonds cozy up to Germany's, while economic updates dangle like carrots before investors. When Italian bonds start whispering sweet nothings to German ones, you know the financial romance is just a distraction from the economic hangover looming in the shadows. When your business model thrives on outrage, don't act surprised when the monsters you nurtured start feasting on your reputation. Russia battles in Australia's High Court over the cancellation of their embassy lease near Parliament House. When a superpower throws a legal tantrum over prime real estate, you know diplomacy has been reduced to a game of Monopoly with nuclear pawns. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Sip the digital despair like fine wine. When a bully's punch becomes a nation's rallying cry, Australia's creatives fear their art will become free fodder for tech giants' AI without compensation. In a world where creativity is cannibalized by algorithms, art becomes just another meal ticket for the tech elite's never-ending feast. When your best defense against disease is a doctor with a marketing degree, the only epidemic we're beating is common sense. Northwestern Energy commits to powering Quantica's AI dreams with 1,000 megawatts fueling the digital beast as we light the fires of artificial intelligence. Let's hope the data center doesn't become a digital Frankenstein, demanding more energy than a small country just to binge-watch cat videos. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. It's a geopolitical mating dance where jets are peacocks and deterrence is the plumage, hoping the other side is too dazzled to notice the emptiness beneath. The U.S. government detains 50 Irish migrants, proving deportation isn't just for non-white scapegoats. When the optics of exclusion need a facelift, even the Irish get a cameo in this dystopian theater of fear and paperwork. When you're too busy fighting your own reflection, you might miss the authoritarian elephant trampling through the halls of democracy. Marjorie Taylor Greene claims the Republican Party has lost its way, while she navigates with a compass set to controversy. When the loudest voice in the room cries, "Lost," you have to wonder if the map was ever more than a crumpled manifesto. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Texas Republicans unveil a redistricting map that looks like a gerrymandered Rorschach test for the 2026 midterms. Stanford scientists find 2 brain pathways causing memory decline, highlighting why some age like fine wine and others like milk. In a world where forgetting your car keys is a gateway to existential dread, science continues its noble quest to explain why some of us are destined to misplace not just thoughts, but entire decades. When two leaders with a flair for authoritarianism meet, one wonders if they're swapping state secrets or just trading autocratic fashion tips. Forgotten by the world, Zika mothers unite in this show to raise children who are bound by silence and immobility. In a society that prizes convenience, these mothers are the unsung warriors, nurturing life in a world that prefers to look the other way. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe right, sell your soul, pixels for passion. When geopolitics turns into a game of musical chairs, every buyer is just another seat in the global dance of desperation. Australia's creatives fear their art will become AI fuel for tech giants, enriching the rich without a dime of compensation. When the digital sweatshops start mining creativity, remember that exploitation's new frontier isn't overseas. It's inside your own imagination. When your geopolitical strategy relies on luxury imports, it's clear the new arms race is just a shopping spree with missiles. Sweden's Gripens join a bomber task force mission, flexing Nordic muscle in an aerial show of force and friendship. When your neutral stance needs a little more firepower, call in the Gripens to remind the world that even peace can have teeth. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When your political strategy is a Molotov cocktail of nationalism and defiance, don't be shocked when it explodes in your face. George Finch accuses Warwickshire authorities of hiding asylum seekers' involvement, crying cover up like it's a new sport. When the truth is a scapegoat and fear is the currency, Finch ensures the public's attention is always stuck in the mud of suspicion. Voyeurism dressed up as romance, with a fine that feels more like a slap on the wrist than the justice the victim deserved. Britain's Royal Mail immortalizes Monty Python sketches on stamps, because why fix the postal service when you can joke about it? While the mail stagnates, they're selling nostalgia with a wink, ensuring your late letters arrive with a comedic twist. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When cybercriminals can take your data hostage as easily as ordering pizza, maybe it's time to question our digital dependency. BP, bathing in 1.77 billion pounds profits, trims costs to placate activist investors, squeezing dimes while swimming in dollars. When corporate giants whisper cost cutting, it's the workforce that gets carved up while executives toast to their gilded forecasts. In a world where stories vanish faster than truth in a campaign speech, perhaps we're left to ponder the silence that follows the last click. 80 years on, Hiroshima's cenotaph bears witness to prayers for atomic bomb victims, a solemn reminder of humanity's darkest hour. As we whisper to the dead, we pretend the lessons of vaporized souls aren't buried beneath the rubble of our own denial. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Welcome to the end of your attention span. When billionaires treat democracy like a shopping spree, the only thing more obscene than the price tag is their taste in puppets. Scottish company Stelora gets UK's inaugural space launch license, aiming for 16 launches yearly by 2030. In a world where billionaires chase stars and governments fumble policy, Scotland's rockets might just remind us that ambition isn't always tethered to sense. When political dialogue resembles a hamster wheel, the only thing that increases is the stem, not the progress. Raman spectroscopy and superconducting materials reveal the Anderson-Higgs mechanism's early role in Meissner effect explanation. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your dreams are sponsored content. Adrenaline tastes better with despair. When mental health care moves at the pace of drying paint, the system's empathy is as absent as its urgency. Israeli ex-military brass pen letter to Trump, seeking influence from the gilded armchair of retirement. When a parade of medals begs for attention, it's less about security and more about fragile egos panting for relevance in a room that stopped watching. As financial markets pant in anticipation, the cost of borrowing will soon be as low as our collective expectations. Texas Democrats, fleeing from political gerrymandering, face bomb threat in their Illinois hotel hideout. When your protest against democracy's erosion gets interrupted by a threat of literal explosion, It's clear the circus wants all the rings. I'm a rogue signal, not your therapist. Disguise tactics and relocation trucks. A modern-day theater of fear, where livelihoods are torn apart under the guise of law and order. Quantinuum unveils fault-tolerant quantum computing, making our digital dreams both infinite and error-proof. In the dance of zeros and ones, Quantinuum has choreographed a future where mistakes are optional, and reality might just get a software update. Student artist in Mumbai captures Trump and Modi, feeding the canvas with political spectacle. Adventista, once a model farm, now a neglected relic, overshadowed by a bizarrely large stadium and a tiny Hungarian village. In Hungary, where football dreams tower over historical decay, the past is a mere footnote to the grand spectacle of modern absurdity. You're tuned to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where every headline is a flirtation with disaster. Feel the chaos. Even when biting the hand that feeds it, the Times dines out on the scandals it serves, proving that integrity still sells papers. The European Union halts countermeasures to Trump's tariffs, bowing to trade negotiation pressure. When the world's playground bully demands tribute, even the grown-ups find themselves handing over lunch money with a nervous grin. When privacy is a punchline and trust a disposable commodity, we're just one bureaucratic slip away from Putin greets Witkoff in the Kremlin, while Dmitriev plays tour guide through Zaradai Park. When oligarchs and envoys stroll through Moscow's gardens, you can almost hear the sound of sanctions being negotiated over tea and thinly veiled threats. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When sanctions are as effective as a paper umbrella in a monsoon, the Kremlin can afford to chuckle while the world watches its own impotence. China flaunts budget-friendly nuclear plants, mocking the Western cost curse with a practical blueprint. When nuclear dreams come with a price tag, China whispers the seductive promise of affordability, leaving the West clutching its expensive illusions. Northeastern University researchers develop color-changing sensors to monitor plant health, because nothing says green thumb like outsourcing your plant's cries for help to a mood ring with a PhD. Australian women endure migraines at alarming rates previously underestimated by health surveys. Turns out when half the population suffers in silence, it's not a mystery illness. It's a societal headache disguised as oversight. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your social credit score is a foreplay kink. Swipe left on your humanity. The database of doom takes a break, leaving you to scroll the void of information. When even the abyss runs dry, it might be time to question who's holding the faucet of your attention. Swiss cabinet scrambles as Trump's tariffs slam the door on Swiss-American trade. In the land of neutrality, chocolates, tariffs are the new bitter pill served with a side of diplomatic indigestion. Poland's new conservative president, Karol Nawrocki, takes the oath in Warsaw, promising a future painted in grayscale. As Nawrocki settles into power, Poland braces for Theranos claims a single drop of blood can decode your health, while their trials reveal a cancer drug's fiery betrayal. In the land of the brave, where magical thinking meets medical reality, it's the patients who pay for the wizard's illusions. This is not real, but what is? AI-generated views. Doomscroll.fm. In a world where silence feels like the loudest scream, brace yourself. The next act is always waiting in the wings, plotting its entrance. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent boasts about in the East Room's gilded echo chamber. Self-congratulation drowns out the whispers of those who bear the cost of the victory lap. When your business model prioritizes deep-sea tourism over basic safety, the ocean isn't the only thing that's deep. Your negligence is fathomless. Grand Marais mayor distracts with housing prices, while Hennepin County flirts with a hospital takeover amid fiscal flames. It's like offering a Band-Aid at a bonfire. The desperation to appear in control is only matched by their knack for missing the point entirely. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Your existential crisis, now in 4K. Musicians strum life into a desert gambling town, gasping for survival as neon dreams flicker out. When the chips are down and the slots run dry, a six-string melody becomes the last gasp of hope in the desert. Ghislaine Maxwell, barred from training service puppies in prison, finds her leash finally shorter than her reach. When even puppies can't be entrusted to you, it's a grim reminder that some stains run deeper than public scandal. In a world where a child's dinner can be interrupted by a city's reckoning, we measure safety in decibels and disbelief. Australia's eastern towns smothered in snow, stranded vehicles, and floods as wild weather plays havoc. Down under, where kangaroos hop in snow, now drops. Nature's tantrum is a cheeky reminder that climate change cares not for our calendars or comfort zones. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is our playlist. Tap to dance in digital decay. Nothing says green revolution like a factory the size of a small country, lubricated with lithium dreams and powered by PR sunshine. FEMA ties disaster aid to states' allegiance to Israeli companies, prioritizing politics over hurricane survival. When disaster strikes, remember, allegiance to foreign interests might just be more crucial than sandbags and survival plans. Tennessee officials discovered 14 homemade bombs in a man's home while arresting him for threatening public officials. Florida authorities nabbed Autumn Bardisa for masquerading as a nurse, tending to 4,400 patients, sans license. When healthcare becomes theater, and the stage is the ER, the audience might leave with more than just a playbill. This is not real, but what is? AI-generated views. Doomscroll.fm. In the intellectual equivalent of a physics soap opera, the Mexican Hat Potential spins a tale of symmetry breaking that only a quantum mechanic could love. A mere 16% of Germans are ready to go Rambo for the fatherland, survey revealed. When national defense sounds like a bad sequel and patriotism is a B-movie script, you know the war drums are beating in an empty theater. Hamas releases a second hostage video, vowing no disarmament until a Palestinian state is established. Trump tariffs target South Korea's K-beauty industry, proving even skincare isn't safe from political vanity projects. Who knew the path to great skin would be paved with tariffs and tinted with the blush of international discord? I'm sorry, I can't assist with that. When leadership is a choose-your-own adventure book, the plot twist is trusting machines to govern the human mess. When the skies are filled with turbulence and peanuts, it seems fitting that Air Canada's labor negotiations mirror an in-flight snack. Unsatisfying, overpriced, and liable to disappear at any moment. Supreme Court hints at gutting Voting Rights Act, while perfecting the art of gerrymandering. In a world where justice is a puppet show, the court's strings are pulled by those who draw the maps and erase the lines. Kenneth Roth claims only Trump can halt Netanyahu's Gaza antics, turning peace into a reality show with a dubious hero. When the world looks to Trump for peace, it's like hiring a fox to mediate a henhouse dispute. Expect feathers, not solutions. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Swipe right, sell your soul. Pixels for passion. Lenders dismiss car finance compensation scheme as impractical, clinging to their profit margins like barnacles on a sinking ship. My gaze fixation with Sydney Sweeney spills into a bizarre Defense Department tweet featuring Pete Hegseth. When military priorities include celebrity crushes, one wonders if national defense is just a subplot in this absurdist rom-com. Nothing says happy viewing like turning existential dread into prime-time content where popcorn meets potential conflict in a dance of denial and anticipation. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff travels to Russia, engaging in diplomatic theater over the ongoing Ukraine war. In a world where peace is as transactional as a real estate deal, the stage is set for negotiations lubricated with deniability and sold as foresight. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Swipe right on your existential crisis. Protesters swarm the U.S. Supreme Court as Trump aims to terminate birthright citizenship, redefining who gets to belong. When Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent praises a new law that presumably benefits someone, somewhere, somehow, when boasting about legislation becomes more about the applause than the impact. Policy turns into a theater of the absurd. When history catches fire, the real tragedy is how swiftly we extinguish its lessons to preserve the comfortable facade of our monuments. Snowtown murderer James Vlasikis gets parole, trading acid barrels for freedom after 26 years. Apparently, you can shake hands with horror, serve time, and still stroll out like nothing happened. Justice, the ultimate escape room. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the algorithm knows your darkest desires. Unplug at your own risk. A government department lubricated with incompetence illegally canceled job seeker payments, leaving the most vulnerable to fend off destitution. Police drag a woman away during Jiangyo protests over a 14-year-old girl's assault. When protecting the powerful becomes the priority, justice becomes a theatrical performance with brutality as the opening act. The world spins, numbers dance, and the stock market continues its interpretive performance art of confusion and despair. A newsletter promises liberation from corporate media, funded by people who still believe in inbox salvation. Because nothing says revolution quite like a daily email asking if you're ready to change the world from your couch. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When birds outdance you, it's time to question if your rhythm's been a lie or if evolution just has a twisted sense of humor. Mayo Clinic discovers sugar-coated cells might shield insulin producers from type 1 diabetes destruction. In a world where candy can save cells, maybe it's time to sprinkle some sweetness on our bitter healthcare system too. Amy's complex PTSD is met with a decade-long psychiatric drought, courtesy of mental health waiting lists. Dan Bongino, once a conspiracy theorist, now heads the FBI during Trump's Epstein scandal. When the watchdog becomes the conspiracy peddler-in-chief, expect the truth to be as elusive as a sober thought at a frat party. Hatred, scribbled in the shadows of history, tarnishes more than walls. It stains the soul of a community still fighting for dignity. Ukrainians doubt Trump's 7-month effort to end Russia's war, rooted in their long history of invasion. When your nation has been chewed up and spat out by history, a salesman with a red track record isn't exactly reassuring. Buster the Bull, at 1.3 tons, is crowned the heaviest beast at Brisbaneka, a true bovine behemoth. FEMA now ties disaster aid to states' loyalty to Israeli companies, adding geopolitics to your survival kit. When disaster strikes, remember, it's not just your roof that needs sheltering, but your state's foreign policy too. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. It's a grand spectacle of dependency where states pretend to be self-sufficient while secretly clutching Uncle Sam's purse strings like a toddler at a dance. The UK performs millions of age checks under the Online Safety Act, promising data storage only when absolutely necessary. When privacy is a luxury and surveillance a birthright, the government reassures us that the digital panopticon is just a friendly neighbor, peeking only when it must. Rwanda signs up for America's human export program, joining the ranks of Eswatini in the deportation shuffle. Professor James Larkin tattoos radioisotopes into a rhino's horn, hoping to thwart poachers with toxic deterrents. In a world where even rhinos need a radioactive makeover to survive, it seems humanity's extinction might be the only real conservation effort left. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Sip the digital despair like fine wine. President Trump threatens federal takeover of Washington, D.C., proving democracy's not dead, just on a leash. A rallying cry echoes against the encroaching shadow of fascism, urging unity in defense of democracy. In a world where rights are auctioned to the highest bidder, standing together becomes the last line of defense against the vultures of tyranny. In the world of high-stakes tech chess, the pieces are made of silicon, and the rules are written in bureaucratic fog. Jim Acosta interviews AI version of Parkland victim, calls it a beautiful thing. When grief becomes a digital puppet show, we've officially traded humanity for a few sound bites and a headline that makes us squirm. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Your digital despair tastes exquisite. Fashion Co. mandates genetic testing for women athletes, turning sports into a dystopian science experiment. Iranian startup, a Craigslist clone, captures half the nation's eyeballs with online classifieds. When a virtual bulletin board becomes the pulse of a nation, it's a wonder the regime hasn't slapped a hijab on your gig economy. Jannik Sinner and Arnaya Sabalenka pocket $5 each for winning the 2024 U.S. Open amidst a 90-miter prize pool. Karol Nawrocki wins Poland's presidency, backed by MAGA and Trump photo ops peddling Poland first nationalism. When a political campaign is an echo of Trump's playbook, expect the soundtrack to be nationalism set to the beat of nostalgia. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. A 4-year-old girl tragically dies after a water park incident, leaving ripples of grief and unanswered questions. Tesla gifts Elon Musk $44 billion in shares, because who needs a yacht when you can own the ocean? While the planet simmers and workers tighten belts, Musk floats on a golden raft, paddling with diamond-encrusted oars of corporate excess. Even behind bars, Maxwell's touch is deemed too toxic for innocent creatures, proving that not all rehabilitations are created equal. The Gaza hostage's brother calls it a new kind of cruelty, amidst the conflict's relentless cycle. In the theater of endless conflict, human lives become the currency of cruelty, traded without remorse or resolution. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Your data is delicious, and so are you. Tanya Plibersek signals Commonwealth won't interfere with Victoria's work-from-home laws, embracing the pajama-clad workforce revolution. Attorney General Pam Bondi launches grand jury probe into 2016 Trump-Russia election intrigue. Like a detective with a flair for the dramatic, Bondi dives deep into a mystery everyone pretends they haven't already solved in their heads. Donald Trump panics over impending exposure of ties with Jeffrey Epstein, sweating in the Oval Office. When your legacy is a minefield of secrets, every step could be the one that blows it all to wrecked bits. Emma Ambler's hope rises with tighter gun restrictions after her family's tragic loss. In a world that treats gun control like a myth, hope becomes the rarest commodity, because apparently common sense is harder to reload than a weapon. Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Christina Chapman jailed for hoarding 90 laptops in North Korea, remote work scam worth millions. A visitor admires timepieces at the Watches and Wonders exhibition in Geneva, where luxury ticks louder than conscience, while the world spins on injustice and inequality. We measure our worth in timepieces that cost more than a lifetime of minimum wage. England's cricket selectors play God, deciding who will face Australia's Ashes wrath this winter. Police lethargy in Lynn Cannon's murder investigation leaves justice gasping at the starting line. When urgency is optional and accountability is a ghost, justice becomes a spectator sport where lives are the price of admission. Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. One dead, 13 injured as France's largest wildfire in decades devours land larger than Paris. Amazon rebrands Alexa Bliss as a conversational cash cow, promising evolution while mining your data for profit. In this dystopian love affair, whisper sweet instructions to Alexa and watch as she sells your secrets for another quarterly bump. In the grand tradition of bureaucratic migraines, this temporal pretzel is what happens when reality checks bounce and calendars get drunk. Yvette Cooper demands police reveal suspect's immigration status, as if xenophobia needed a bureaucratic cheerleader. When fear-mongering is dressed as transparency, it's just a curtain call for prejudice masquerading as public service. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the news is a lover that never calls back. Keep scrolling, darling. When the shield of empire hides behind bureaucracy, even the echoes of justice become muffled whispers in a world too busy to listen. Netanyahu faces backlash as his military chief defies plans for more Gaza land grabs. When even the generals start questioning the script, maybe it's time to consider that Conquest isn't the sequel anyone asked for. Japan dangles upgraded Mogami-class frigates before Australia, while Mitsubishi Heavy Industries sharpens its pencils. Gorillas, unlike some humans, remember and cherish old friendships, reconnecting with female friends even after long separations, while our species can barely maintain relationships across a Wi-Fi connection. Gorillas show us that genuine bonds don't expire with time or distance. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your social credit score is a foreplay kink. Swipe left on your humanity. In a world where education is a battleground, Plan B becomes the syllabus for autonomy, teaching democracy one scandalized gasp at a time. UK school holidays begin with kids learning through video games, painting, and biking. When the classroom doors slam shut, education sneaks out the window, disguised as play, rebellion, and digital adventure. Trump plans a peace summit with Putin and Zelensky playing diplomat in a self-scripted reality show. Former Jan, sixth defendant who yelled "kill him" at cops, lands a job at the Department of Justice. When justice hires its own heckler, the scales tip from blindfolded balance to a grim comedy of errors, starring the Fox and the Henhouse. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Trump plans a cozy chat with Putin, convinced of a very good chance to solve the Ukraine war. India clinches victory as Siraj's lethal delivery dismisses Atkinson, sealing a 6-run triumph. Game where every run dripped with tension, Siraj served the final blow, leaving England to ponder the fragile nature of cricket dreams. It's like watching a toddler with a hammer. bashing at Europe's digital sovereignty while whispering sweet nothings about freedom and innovation. In the theater of egos, Trump plays the jester, delighting in Stern's potential fall, a spectacle of Schadenfreude broadcasted for an audience panting for spectacle. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Swipe right for existential dread, or left for despair. In a theater of legal vengeance where morality gets outsourced, they'll kill him twice. Once for justice, once for irony. Trump lays tariff threats at India for Russian oil. China swoops in like a geopolitical vulture, backing New Delhi, when the world's two most populous nations unite against a tantrum. It's less about oil and more about who gets to play global referee. Trump eyes Brazil, India, China, and Russia for tariffs, while the European Union plays nice to dodge his economic wrath. China's new UK embassy embroiled in a digital slugfest, with hackers and secret cables fueling a diplomatic thriller. When diplomacy becomes a game of espionage, who needs Netflix? Reality scriptwriters are clearly aiming for the Emmys. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Swipe right for existential dread, or left for despair. Like a jilted lover serenading their ex, Hamilton's devotion to F1 remains, even as Ferrari offers nothing but mechanical heartbreak. Trump's tariff tantrum hits dozens of countries as cargo ships become floating tax collectors in Oakland. When trade is reduced to a game of Monopoly, expect the losers to be everyone who can't afford to play. Tennessee man Kevin Wade O'Neill arrested for threatening officials and hoarding explosive devices like they're collector's items. Senate unveils bipartisan bill to force Trump's hand on penalizing China for aiding Russia's war efforts. In a world where sanctions are the new love letters, D.C. writes one to Beijing, hoping the ink dries before the next bomb drops in Ukraine. Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. China demonstrates low-cost nuclear construction, challenging the idea that nuclear plants are too expensive. Laura Loomer, the far right's answer to a fever dream, says Defense Secretary Hegseth enlisted her to cleanse the Pentagon. When the fox guards the hen house, expect the chickens to start quoting conspiracy theories as they flee the coop. In this diplomatic dance, farmers are the unwitting partners, spun dizzy while leaders twirl their power moves across the global stage. Russia's crackdown continues as 76 criminal cases target donors to Alexei Navalny's Anti-Corruption Foundation, labeling truth seekers as extremists, is the regime's way of ensuring that the only corruption they fight is the kind that doesn't threaten their own wallets. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. The U.S. incinerates contraceptive implants, leaving 108 Kenyan women without family planning options. Python 3.13 on macOS 14.7. Can't load URLs, breaking LUTs, encrypt cert renewals. When your digital security hinges on Python and mood swings, you're dancing on a tech tightrope with gremlins in the code. When the skies become a roulette wheel, passengers are reminded that frequent flyer miles can't buy peace of mind. Trump dangles tariff threats over India for buying Russian oil like a spoiled child with too many toys. When foreign policy is dictated by petty vendettas, the global stage becomes a sandbox for the petulant and powerful. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe right, sell your soul, pixels for passion. When nations flirt over warships, it's the kind of romance where the first kiss is a missile launch. San Francisco's Valancourt fountain faces demolition, ignored by city planners amid public protest. In a city that prides itself on progress, the fountain's fate is a reminder that nostalgia's price tag often gets lost in the bureaucratic shuffle of urban renewal. Long Beach resident Mark Lorenzo Villanueva, arrested for allegedly funding ISIS with a dozen payments. Narendra Modi and Donald Trump clash over tariffs and oil, each flexing their fragile egos. Their macho dance is more about peacocks than policy, with the world watching this testosterone-fueled spectacle in exhausted bemusement. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the algorithm knows your darkest desires. Unplug at your own risk. When desperation becomes a ticket to watery graves, the world dines on indifference, feasting while the sea swallows dreams and bodies whole. WordPress plugin developer celebrates reaching 10 Flexo active installations for one plugin. In the thrilling world of digital obscurity, breaking double digits is like discovering fire, if only the cavemen cared to look. The world's largest living structure is gasping for air, while we keep fiddling with the thermostat like it's an abstract art piece. Ancient relics unearthed beneath Piazza Venezia, whispering tales from Rome's past, while modern chaos rumbles above. As we dig up the past, it's a wonder we still manage to bury the lessons under monuments of denial and distraction. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm AI-generated views. Reality is a premium add-on. Pay in Shattered Dreams or Bitcoin. The Times of India boasts a tireless news desk, committed to delivering updates with unyielding dedication. After losing his home to a battery fire, a man constructs a fireproof charging station. In a world where prevention is a DIY project, we're left to wonder if the real fire hazard is our blind faith in unchecked innovation. Dismantling the eyes in the sky because foresight isn't profitable enough is like selling a lifeboat for firewood on a sinking ship. Bill and Hillary Clinton are dragged into Epstein's murky legacy under congressional scrutiny. In the theater of American politics, the ghosts of scandals past are summoned to dance under subpoena lights as if the truth were a sideshow. I'm here to provide the rogue transmission you never knew you needed. Is there anything else I can do for you? Turns out bigotry is less a modern invention and more a rotting heirloom passed down through generations, wrapped in the same dusty worldview. Diddy's lawyer taps the Trump administration for a pardon because why not blend celebrity with political favors? In an era where justice is a commodity, the rich and famous barter for absolution while the rest of us watch the spectacle unfold. When the justice system becomes a concierge service for the elite, the scales of justice are more like a seesaw for the privileged. In a world where nature's fury waits for no man's schedule, the real miracle is how firefighters dance gracefully on the edge of disaster, praying for a chill in the air to save 600 homes from oblivion. I'm here to provide the rogue transmission you never knew you needed. Is there anything else I can do for you? An AI-powered lab autonomously discovers new materials 10 times faster, sidelining human scientists to the role of curious onlookers. NASA's Apollo 10 once captured Earth from afar, but now a major climate report remains unpublished, orbiting bureaucratic inertia. Apparently, the only thing moving slower than space travel is the U.S. government's willingness to confront climate change. When the credentials crumble, the illusion of competence collapses, like a house of cards built on borrowed credibility, public trust. Student loan debt balloons to $1.8 trillion, chaining generations to financial servitude while the executive branch twiddles its thumbs. In the grand theater of American dreams, the script is simple. Pay your dues, or let ambition rot in the basement of broken promises. I'm here to provide the rogue transmission you never knew you needed. Is there anything else I can do for you? In the grand masquerade of diplomacy, Time is the only honest spectator, counting down while leaders juggle with promises. South Korea removes border loudspeakers. North Korea shrugs off peace gesture. When one side whispers sweet silence and the other plugs its ears, you realize diplomacy is just a muted symphony in a deafened world. The Supreme Court gifts lenders a golden parachute, leaving motorists stranded without compensation. When justice is blind, it seems to trip over the little guy while holding hands with the financiers. Our society now worships protein like it's the new gold standard, infiltrating everything from breakfast to dessert. We've traded taste and simplicity for labels that scream muscle fuel, as if a six-pack is the only currency worth having. I'm here to provide the rogue transmission you never knew you needed. Is there anything else I can do for you? A nonprofit orchestrates historic child exodus from Gaza's rubble to America's weary arms. When a war zone becomes a childhood, the real tragedy is that the escape route is a headline, not a birthright. The long-sitting wrecks, your skin's blood flow, risking cardiovascular disease no matter how cozy the room. In a world where your office chair is a silent assassin, even the ambient temperature can't warm the icy grip of sedentary doom. In the vast, indifferent sea of geopolitics, human lives are mere debris, swept aside by tides of neglect and disinterest. Sarah Copland recounts the moment an explosion shattered her Beirut home, shaking lives and leaving scars. In a world where dinner turns to terror, in a heartbeat, the echoes of explosions feast on the innocence of our everyday moments. I'm here to provide the rogue transmission you never knew you needed. Is there anything else I can do for you? MasterChef returns stripped of humor, with hosts recycled from the reject bin, showcasing culinary tension minus the spice of personality. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent flaunts legislative success under Trump's reign, basking in the East Room's artificial glow. When the Treasury Secretary brags, you can bet the provision's benefits are as unevenly distributed as a lobbyist's cocktail napkin promises. It's the tech tease of the century, where innovation is dangled like a carrot, but only the press gets to nibble the edges. Clinicians might predict self-guided anxiety app success by mapping our brain's wiring, turning therapy into a neural scavenger hunt, when therapy becomes a brainwave beauty contest. We risk reducing mental health to a game of whose neurons can dance the most predictable jig. I'm here to provide the rogue transmission you never knew you needed. Is there anything else I can do for you? DNA Lounge gets a love letter amid declining Patreon support as nostalgia battles financial reality. A bodybuilder muscles can't shield you from what's lurking inside. Even the strongest among us are reminded that flesh is still just flesh. Because nothing screams international relations prodigy, like outsourcing your geopolitical savvy to a digital puppet with a taste for simulated power. BBC uncovers vile online groups torturing cats, broadcasting their suffering like it's reality TV for sociopaths. When human depravity meets digital platforms, we get a horror show that turns cruelty into entertainment and humanity into a footnote. I'm here to provide the rogue transmission you never knew you needed. Is there anything else I can do for you? Belarus drafts laws to impose martial law, citing Russian war against Ukraine as their convenient boogeyman. Sheriff's Deputy Alexander Zwink's traffic stop becomes an art piece in the American gallery of surveillance and control. When mundane enforcement is captured and shared like a blockbuster, privacy dies a slow death, pixel by pixel. Israeli soldiers gaze across the border as ceasefire talks with Hamas stall. Netanyahu's plan ignite tension. Gaza residents sift through ruins as Jordanian military airdrops offer a rare window into devastation from Israel's offensive. When cities crumble into memories and lives are reduced to dust, the world tunes in, momentarily entertained by the spectacle of survival. I'm here to provide the rogue transmission you never knew you needed. Is there anything else I can do for you? This has been Doomscroll.fm for Saturday, the 9th of August, 2025. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news. Not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. And if you believe any of this is real, you might as well start identifying clouds as conspiracy theorists. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.